Hey booze, hey, do your blankets feel like super glue in the morning? Well sis, it's time to shake them off. Welcome to Wake Up Happy Sis, the show that jumpstarts your day with a bang. We're strolling down these self-care streets as we navigate the maze of wellness and healing. We're helping you live happy, healed, and whole. And we do it all with a hearty dose of belly laughs for good measure. Stay tuned and get ready to wake up happy, sis. Hey, booze. Hey, it's your girl, Leanne Dose, your Chief Self-Love Officer over here, and you are tuned in to the Wake Up Happy Sis show with my fabulous co-host, Sharonda Sealy. And you guys already know we're tuned in live on KCCR Cityscape Radio, where we are changing the narrative for our people because we are always telling our stories our way, and we are unapologetic about it. Today's episode is all about stepping into the new year with purpose, with power, and with a plan that sticks. Okay, now we've all been there, writing down all those New Year's resolutions, and by February we have lost the list. We don't know what it was. We don't care anymore. We ain't even on that. But what I like to do is, instead of trying to focus on these short and fast resolutions, what I set are intentions for how I want my year to come out, right? And these intentions, I try to align with my heart, with my values, and the unique journey that I'm on. So it's not, hey, I'm going to lose 20 pounds this year. It's, I'm on a journey for health, right? So my intention is to be healthier in this year, right? And it's not just us here. We've got two fabulous guests who are joining us, Madjeen, Lorthe and Temetria, McVea, both powerhouse life coaches who specialize in helping women like you and like us navigate transitions and embrace bold, authentic living. We're diving into why resolutions fail, the beauty of intention setting, and some tools to make 2025 your happiest, most fulfilling, aligned year ever. So as always, I don't have my big mug here, but I do have my little one, because we're gonna keep a cup. So I need you to grab your favorite mug, fill it with whatever you want to, because we do not judge what you're sipping on here. And let's get ready to walk boldly into our 2025. So welcome to the show, Temetria and Madjeen. How are you guys today?
Doing good.
Yeah, doing great. So excited to be here. Thank you.
Yes, we are happy to have you here. So, how we run this show is, I really like for our guests to introduce themselves, because I feel like nobody's going to do your story justice like you can do your justice. So, Madjeen, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself and what led you to start Transitions Well Done?
Hi, Leanne. Hi, Sharonda. And hi, Temetria. It's so nice to be here with you. It's a good way to start the day. It's especially with the topic that we're talking about too. So I set my intention for today as well, which is to enjoy this moment with you all. So thank you for having me. I'm the founder of Transitions Well Done, which is a coaching and consulting practice where I guide leaders and teams through transitions. I focus on the psychological and emotional aspect of change. And, as we talk more, you'll get to hear more about that. But my background is in nonprofit. I have over 20 years experience in the nonprofit field. I'm a mental health counselor. And also I've been coaching for the last 5 years. I am a certified coach. And I chose to start my business when I wanted to really focus on how I can support people like me, nonprofit leaders, women of color, Black women like myself, who are often going through changes, but not going through it with intention, right? So the topic today really fits in with the work that I do and the name of my business. I name it Transitions Well Done because there's a way to do transition so that it's not so chaotic. Right? So it doesn't become so scary. It's not so fear-based, but really opening up yourself for new opportunities and how you're evolving, right? Change is often around us. It's constant. So then how do we address it as individuals, but also as a leader? How do you help your teams go through those changes? So that's what I do. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about it.
Yes. So it seems you've worked extensively with women of color, kind of helping them navigate these life transitions. What would you say is one major transition that you've helped your clients overcome that kind of stands out to you, without going too much into anybody's business, of course?
Right. So I think oftentimes it's the limiting beliefs that we have that hold us stuck. It's often, you have all the skills, you have all the knowledge and expertise, but you don't feel like you are ready yet, right? So you may have all the degrees, you may have all the training, but when it comes time to take that step, the uncertainty, the unknown is holding you stuck in what feels comfortable. So for the leaders that I work with, is often they see themselves growing, but they don't see the path, right? And so it's, how do we clear out the path for you? How do we work with your mindset, your behavioral, your patterns? Because in every position, we're bringing our beliefs, our attitudes, all of our
Yeah.
past lives through that position. And sometimes when we don't have the space to talk about our identities, then that also is where you feel like, am I ready? Is the world ready for me? And oftentimes the world shows us that it's not ready for us. So we have all of these things to work through. One of the biggest things that I've done is, in the past year, I work with a leader who from the very beginning said, I'm not comfortable with change, right? She had just gotten promoted to assistant director at her job, and it was a big change for her. And every time her boss would affirm her, she would diminish the work that she's done.
Mhm.
And so we really work through, what are the what evidence do you have that you're not doing well? Everything that is being told to you is showing you that you are doing well. So what's getting in the way of you stepping up? And so we worked through that. And at the end of our coaching session, she was able to even within a year get promoted to director position, because it's really like, she had been in her department for 25 years before she got an assistant director role, right? So sometimes it's also our environment. And she also had a very supportive supervisor to help her. But I think coaching really helped her in the individual path to clearing out like all the things that felt like she had to hold on to. So she had to let go of a lot of the fears.
I definitely love that. I think a lot of us can relate to imposter syndrome, to those feelings. My inner hater, I think everybody has one, and we need to name them. His name is Ricky Bobby. And everybody laughs when I say that, because I want him to sound crazy, because that's what it is. It's all lies that our fear is telling us, because we're scared of that unknown. And there's no reason to. How else are you going to change, grow, thrive if you don't step out into the unknown? We have to conquer new civilizations, if you will. And that means stepping out of our comfort zones. So I love that you're helping women and men get past their own insecurities and fears, especially when we have a proven track record. That's the part that gets me, is we have this proven track record, yet we don't want to believe our own fabulousness sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
that's wonderful work that you're doing. So
Yeah.
what's a key piece of advice that you would probably share with women who are feeling overwhelmed by trying to balance this cultural identity, these social expectations, and then the systemic barriers that are often put in place on top of that in the workforce?
Mm-hmm. So I think in the beginning you said that we can swear if it feels appropriate.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Oh, so one thing I would say to particularly women, Black women, is your shit. Just own your shit. So it's really owning.
And we do. And we do. Yes.
You have the proven track record, as you said, Leanne, and that's what you're gonna lean on. And we are told repeatedly how resilient we are, but we sometimes forget that, right? And we have gone through many changes before, and we forget that as well, right? So the same, and yes, change is hard. It's uncomfortable, right? It brings up a lot of emotions for us. If you go under the surface, you can see all the different reasons why you might be having the feelings you're having, but that hasn't stopped you before. And you are in the room because you bring the value, you bring the expertise. So own that, feel that, and walk in authentically you.
Yes, I love that. I love that. So, Temetria, welcome to the Wake Up Happy Sis show. Can you kind of share your story and how you became passionate about empowering women to embrace their uniqueness?
Yes. So thank you, first of all, for having me here. I'm so excited and happy to be here with all of you. So I coach women through transition. And I really kind of focus on single women in midlife because that was where I was when I started my transition. And there are just a lot of things that come up about that time when you hit those 40s and 50s. You start to question things. You start to realize that it's up to you. You're in charge of your life. And it can look any way that you want it to look. It does not have to look the way that we've been told. You know, we can go any direction we want to go. So I work with women in that space, answering those questions of what's next? Is this all there is? And really tapping into what they really want for their lives, not what, again, not the shoulds, but what they really want. So that's where I started my kind of transformation and my journey, really getting honest about what I wanted in my life. And so I made some big changes. I lived in the suburbs in my town in Austin. I didn't want to be out in the suburbs. I wanted to be in the city. I'd worked for a great company for 23 years, and I didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted to step out and do my thing and become the person that I was meant to become. And so I had some coaching, and that's where I realized that this was my journey. And I had to find the trust in myself to say that this is what I wanted to do, and then to step out and do it, and to have my own back, because the doubt does come up, and the fear, and all the things that come with something like this or any type of change. And I think a lot of times people think you're starting over. They have a thought that, oh, I can't start over at this age. You're not starting over. You're bringing all of your life experience, all of your wisdom with you.
Right.
And if you trust yourself and have your own back, you can do anything you want. So that's what I work with women, to tap into that dream and to go for it.
I love that. Oh, go ahead, Rhonda.
I think that the both of you have a great place in the culture, because I've learned in my 53 million years that my blessing is all the way on the outside of my comfort zone, all the way, every time. No fail, no hesitation, no discussion. It's always on the outside of your comfort zone. So the purpose that you two have to the community is vital to help them get across to the next chapter, because like you're stunting your growth by remaining in your comfort zone way too long, way too long.
Yes.
And by the time you get out there, you're like,
Yeah.
how come I didn't do this sooner?
Yeah.
What am I really doing with my life and stuff, right? So you guys are really and truly a blessing to the culture, and don't stop, because your test is somebody else's testimony.
Yes.
Definitely.
And I think we have to step out of our comfort zones and other people's comfort zones too, right? They are comfortable with the box that you're in.
You know that's the fact right there. That's
People get uncomfortable when you
here we
start to
go.
walk out and change and grow. That's okay. They can deal with that.
Absolutely. I have discovered this week that I am the whole villain in somebody's story, but you gonna be the clown in mine, doggone. You're gonna be the clown. You have to be, because what you're accusing me of is ludicrous. And I don't care. I don't care. And I love
In
you.
that instance,
I still don't care.
in that instance, I tell them, well, what did you do for me to become the villain?
And
I
the answer to
didn't
that
start
question
this
is
life as a
boundaries.
villain.
The answer to that question is boundaries. I have a whole family member that's mad at me because I decided to break a generational curse of allowing other family members to cuss me out on my birthday. That was when I was 40. I just turned 53.
First of all,
I will replace you with my peace, with you over there acting foolish. I'm way too old to be having to deal with you like this. I refuse. And so they're mad at me because I have boundaries. Well, stay mad. Stay mad.
You see me,
and I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing.
This is exactly how I'd be looking at them. They talking about
so unbothered.
unbothered. Because I like what you said is getting out of our comfort zone, but other people's comfort zone.
I love
other
that.
people's expectations for our lives. How do you have an expectation and entitlement to my life? Right?
Yes.
Now, Temetria, you talked about, and you mentioned this life of shoulds, and you talk about breaking free from this life of shoulds. What would you say was a transformative moment in your life that really caused this shift for you?
When I realized that people have those expectations and people have those shoulds, and I mean, I had them too, but I'm the only one living this life. I'm the one that I can count on. I mean, I do have wonderful family and wonderful friends, but when it gets right down to it, it's me. And people aren't as worried about you normally, Sharonda, maybe sometimes, as you think they are. So just go out and live your life. And people pleasing, you can't please everybody, please yourself. I had this is going to sound bad, but it's just true. I decided probably about 6 or 7 years ago, if somebody has to be unhappy, it doesn't necessarily have to be me. So, and I'm not, not in a mean way, not wishing you any
I
harm.
love it. I love it.
I mean, the whole foundation of Wake Up Happy Sis is really about us getting past this guilt feeling that we have about putting our happiness first, putting our desires, our wants, and our needs first in our own lives, as if our life is only of worth and value when we're of service to others. We can't just do things because it makes us happy. We can't just say, no, I don't want to do that. And that's the whole answer, right? I think that people get so caught up and so butthurt behind the boundaries and things that we establish in our lives. And we have to be able to say no, to set these boundaries, to live our lives unapologetically without guilt.
One thing I would add is also listen to your body.
Yes,
because we are often holding all of these things that we're experiencing in our bodies, right? And so one of the things that what I work with women is we are often not putting the mask on first. So we're making sure everyone else is taken care of because you're talking about expectations, societal expectations. And we pile these things on us and we often say, oh, I feel this way, my body aches here, or these things are happening to me, but I just need to get up and get it done, right? And so oftentimes, by the time we get to our breaking point, you're wondering, how did it get to this point, right? But you had not been listening to what your body has been telling you. And I think for me, that was my breaking point of putting all these cultural expectations that I've always had about what it means to have success, to be successful. And so I was working up a certain way that I think I should get to the ladder. And it was kind of like, well, no one is getting in between me and that dream of mine. Nothing is going to get. And my body had to say to me, you got to stop. Right.
It's the self-inflicted part for me. And
Right.
I've been there too.
I think we all have.
You find yourself sitting there like, oh, shoot, I've been sensing this. My body has been telling me this for the past 6 months. And I've just been like, not hearing it. Your intuition goes into it too, right? As women, we always say that how intuitive we are, but then we are often pushing that intuition down and not listening to it.
Well, I think a lot of times people are not even in tune enough with their bodies to understand what their body is telling them, right? We're used to, especially if you're of a certain age, you're used to waking up with certain new aches and pains and creaks and whatever. But if you are practicing mindfulness and doing body scans and really aware of how your body responds to stressors, then you'll be able to catch those signs a lot sooner before your body takes you out. Because it will get real disrespectful and you'll be passed out somewhere. Like it's happened to me, where your body just gives out. It's like, hey, I've been like you said, Madjeen, I've been giving you these warnings. You haven't been listening. Well, let me sit you down for a minute because I need a rest.
I'm glad you said that, because one of the things you said is you have to be in tune. I, as a clinician, at the time when my body just shut down, and if someone else was telling me what was happening, it would be a clear sign, right? You're not heading in the right direction, right? But was I taking on my own advice? I wasn't taking on.
Why would you do that?
Why would I, right?
It's the stop signs, it's the yield signs, speed bumps, yellow lights. All of these warnings come before the fall that we have all ignored. Yeah. I just would like to submit to the audience, don't wait till you get to your 50s before you start listening to your body. Okay? I'm only speaking for myself. I couldn't possibly be speaking for anybody else.
Well, and I would say don't wait for a panic attack at the workplace.
That part
happened to me for you to listen to your body.
Yes, ma'am.
To all the stop signs and all the things. And I was such a people pleaser. You mentioned working with a coach as well. I at the time I was working with 2 coaches, an executive coach and a career coach. And we had a plan. The 3 of us had a plan of how I was going to get out. But my people pleasing got in the way, and I continued. And that's when it was like, nope, this is not a good setup for you. So
I'm retired early now because of a panic attack at work. I get it.
It took me being in the ER to send my final resignation. Yeah, I'm not coming back.
But one thing I will say about the millennials, the Gen Zers, whatever I don't even know what they're called. After my generation and what is it, millennials? I don't know anybody else. But what I will say is this: whoever came after millennials, they are so aware. Now they may be a little more reckless with it because they will leave a job, ain't got nothing else to fall back on. But that's because they have us as parents and grandparents, to fall back on, right? Because we're the planners. We're the ones that I'm not leaving a job if I ain't got something else lined up. But that's why we run these cycles, because we're letting all this trauma, all this pain, all this stress just pile up. People hear me talk about this all the time, these little doorways into our soul where we lock all of our pain and our hurt and our trauma until we explode, until our body shuts us down. They'd be like, fuck this shit, I'm out. What you will not do, I am not feeling. They are so empowered.
Yeah, they are.
To speak their mind and to think and act differently. And I think that's because we've given them the space and the ability where we may not have been comfortable doing it because that's not how we were raised to have that comfortability. I know with my child, with my daughter, she's 33. My goal was to give her that space and that freedom to be able to grow and do and to feel and to speak her mind, you know. And she'll go work 3, 4 jobs, but she will quit. She'll leave one in a minute if it's not fulfilling her, making her happy. So I do think as a community, we're moving in the right direction of mental health, of wellness, of happiness, of freedom. Like you were saying, Temetria, is freedom and fulfillment of what does that look like for me? Not for everybody else,
Right.
but for Leanne. What does my freedom, my fulfillment, and what does my happiness look like? So let me ask you this, Temetria, before we jump into our topic, because we haven't even got to the topic. When you're working with women who really are struggling to see their gifts, how do you really help them begin to uncover and embrace this full potential, this unique, what's for me is for me kind of vision of their future?
I help them get kind of past those roadblocks. I really dive into them tapping into what they want. And it's a that can be a process, and it can take a couple of sessions for them to get to what they truly want. And when they realize that the things that they've wanted before were not always necessarily what was true, tapping into what was true, there's kind of it's eye-opening that, I've been living this life for somebody else or trying to live up to other people's expectations, and that you're not happy, you're not fulfilled, you're not living your purpose. So just getting honest, helping them get honest with themselves. And if they're gonna love you, they're gonna love you. If they're not, they're gonna not. They can find a reason, right, to not love you or to love you. You got to love yourself. You got to live with yourself.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Now, before we get into our next segment, we're going to take a quick break. Little quick break. Pause for the cause. You are tuned into the Wake Up Happy Sis show on KCCR Cityscape Radio, and we'll be right back. Hey, sis. Ever feel like you're on the verge of a meltdown? Are you overwhelmed from juggling your job, your family, and trying to fit in me time, but seriously dropping the ball on that last one? Guess what? You're not alone. Introducing the Burnout Recovery Kit. It's your 14-day lifeline to go from burnt out to lit up. Get ready to reclaim your joy, energy, and that I got this attitude. Grab your free ebook, a purpose-driven workbook, daily email prompts, as well as SMS boosters and Q&A sessions. It's like a spa day for your soul, and guess what? It's totally free. Don't waste another minute feeling drained. Go to officialburnoutrecoverykit.com right now and kickstart your transformation. The Burnout Recovery Kit, because you deserve to be at the top of your own to-do list. Don't just cope, thrive, sis. All right, all right. So let's jump into this topic. We're here to talk about why resolutions do not work and how you can start setting some intentions instead that will really stick. So to me, I feel like resolutions oftentimes are coming from this place of societal pressures, right? Rather than our own unique internal desires for how we want our next year or next years to unfold. And I think as Black women, this pressure is then amplified because we've got all these cultural expectations to fix ourselves. I need to be this weight. I need to have this much money in the bank. All of these things that we've grown up being taught makes us a good woman or a good man or whatever the new buzzword is, right? High achieving, what do they call it? A high value woman or a high value man is like the new buzzword, right? Now, we already know they're telling us we got to be a certain size. If you're plus size, something must be wrong with you. You don't love yourself, you blah, blah, blah. Then they're telling us, oh, you're pretty for a dark-skinned girl, right? So we have to worry about conforming to these Eurocentric beauty standards. Then we go to the workplace and we're told, you can work twice as hard. You're still just going to be, I'm going to look at you like the next average non-Black person, right? We're constantly trying to prove our worth. And a lot of times that is where these resolutions are coming from, not from a place of authenticity and not from a place of self-love, but often from a place of more like feeling like guilt or shame that we're supposed to have these things. And I feel like it turns us into these perfectionists.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to look the part, speak the part, all these things. And we set these impossible standards that, like we said, by February, usually gone. That gym the first week of January, that gym, first 2 weeks, baby, is full. It's packed. That first month goes by, rolls into February, and it's back to those core people that was their desire to work on that. So how do we look at resolutions versus intentions? So how do you guys look at it? So Madjeen, I know you said, you're focused on intentions in this alignment with the show. So what does that difference look like to you between resolutions and intentions?
I find that resolutions are rigid, which is what you're talking about, right? You have to fit a certain mold. It's very much outcome based. Mm-hmm. And if you don't meet that outcome, then it's you may see yourself as a failure, others might see you as a failure. So then that's not, I don't think I've ever set a resolution that I've kept for more than 4 to 6 weeks, right? That's like the range. Part of the challenge with it is that, when something new is happening, there's a lot of excitement. So there's a lot of excitement around the new year when we're setting up these resolutions, but then it's not sustainable because sometimes we don't have the systems in place to support that outcome-based goal.
Yeah.
So then it starts to dwindle away because you don't have the structure to support it. And so that's the piece where I started to lean away from it maybe about 9 years ago. And I remember it's because a friend of mine, the two of us were going through separation, divorce, then we're single mothers, and we're thinking, well, we don't have any options for a New Year's Eve because we have to be with our kids, right? I have a 19-year-old daughter. At the time, she was much younger. And so we decided to come together since then every year. And on New Year's Eve, we set a word for the year. And I'm sure you all have heard that, before setting that. And what I found with it is that it grounds me when I have that word, so I can always come back to it, right? It's a reminder, this is how I wanted to set the year. If I'm 6 months into the year and, there's some friction, I'm struggling, let me remind myself of that. What is that word? And what was my purpose in setting that word? And this year, my word was renewal, because I knew that I was going to go through many changes, becoming an empty nester, moving from Boston to Florida, right? Letting go of my full-time job to really focus on my business. So big life events were happening. I knew going into the year that those were going to happen for me. And so what I wanted to come back to all the time was, I'm going to go through this transition process where I'm letting go, I'm stepping in the unknown, but eventually I will be renewed. So it's renewal. So that's for me why the difference between resolutions and intentions. The intention is feeling based, is emotion based, right? Because you're thinking of, how you want to feel. If you think when you go to yoga, right, they usually tell you set an intention for today's practice. And so usually for me it's to be present, because I'm trying to think of all the, to do errands I have to run after the yoga. So bring me back in whenever I start to go into that direction. It brings me back in, it helps me focus. So that's how I think of the two.
I love that. And what about you, Temetria? Anything you'd like to add or adjust to how you see the two?
Yes. So I think that resolutions, I tend to think of them being set normally from a punitive place, that I have to do this, I have to cut this, or I have to do all of these things. And people don't tap into why they're setting these resolutions. And so I try to be perfectionist, and that going to the gym those first 2 weeks, they skip that one day, and then it's kind of all downhill from there. So I do believe that setting intentions is the way to go. And like Beijing, I do a word of the year, and I love that because it's kind of my theme for the year. And like she said, how I want to show up in the world and what I want that year to feel like, to be about. And so I go back to that and ask myself, okay, am I living my word? How can I use that word? This year was aggressive. I went with aggressive because, like Madjeen, I stepped out from that career that I had. I'm building this business, and not aggressive in an aggressive way, but aggressively going for what I want. So I would ask myself, how can I be aggressive in this situation? And it really is like standing up for yourself, advocating for yourself, doing the things that you need to do to get to where you need to be.
Yes, and I would agree. I also set a word, an intentional word or phrase for the year. And I do agree that I think a lot of the difference is that rigidity, is that place of coming from somebody else's external expectation
Mhm.
versus what I truly desire and how I want to show up and be present for myself in this next year. Um, and so for me, I try to set that word because it then opens up so many other things. It's not like, oh, I have to. Now, I may have a goal of under that intention. Now, because I want to make this very clear to people, that we're not saying do not set and achieve goals.
Right.
We're saying don't wait until December 31st to say now, because of all these things, I got to run and do all of these things, where I think that's what a resolution is about. I got to set these things because I'm supposed to be doing all of these things, where an intention is more like, let me sit down and be methodical about who I am, how I want to feel, how I want to show up this next year. And under that, then I start putting maybe I was watching this thing on TikTok, and this changed how I look at goals. And he said, write 10 things down that you want to accomplish. And he said, of those 10, what is the one or two things that if you could snap your fingers and you had it tomorrow, which would it be? Because normally, if you have a list of wants, there's going to be one or two things that you would want. That is your, if I could snap my fingers and have it tomorrow, this would be it. He's like, that's how you know what you need to be focusing on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I try to set my intentions around that. And then I build out goals and things that I want to achieve throughout that year. And that gets me out of, oh, it's January 1st. I got to run and I got to jump and I got to do this. And now I got to lose 15 pounds. I got to, because we're going to run ourselves into burnout because one, we're not basing these things off of what we want. We're basing them off of what we're being told by society we're supposed to do. So it feels obligatory versus intentional,
Right.
if you will.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's also like it's with resolutions, it's like you picking a number, pick a number, pick something, and boom, this is what it is. Whereas And setting intentions, you being more mindful. You're
Yes.
really checking in with yourself. And I'm so glad you said it, Leanne, of like, this is not saying, don't do goals. I'm glad you said that. The way I would suggest too is, if goal setting is what works for you, do that.
Mhm.
And not a but and just find ways to set intentions around those goals, right? It doesn't have to be an either or. It could be both, right? Because sometimes what I see is, we have habits that when sometimes a new idea comes up and we want to try it, then there's friction. And
Mhm.
that friction causes us to have decision paralysis. Now, should I do goal setting? That's what I've been doing for the past 20 years. Or now I'm hearing intention is better. It's definitely a way for you to think about it and see how you can best implement it in your life. I was talking to a client recently, and the new year, she's thinking about it and she wants to do dating differently. And she said, I've always been a planner, but now I'm starting to see how wanting to plan everything about, my dating life gets in the way of me really
Yes.
enjoying it. And so I was talking to her about that, and I was like, if that works for you, it serves you, right? I'm sure being a planner has helped you in many ways, right? You're a successful doctor, so forth and so on. That has helped you. And if you see that the planning is getting somehow becoming a barrier to a part of your life, how do you set different tools, strategies around that, so that it's not just you planning, but you're setting the intentions around that as well?
Yes. I love that because I think we sometimes get scared to step out of our comfort zone, right? If you're a planner, plan. By all means, I'm a planner. But stop planning yourself into analysis paralysis because you're waiting for perfection. You're waiting for something to tell you that it's done. You can plan yourself into nothing,
Right.
into not launching, into not loving, into not anything because you've over planned,
If I
right?
had a fan, I would fan that.
Let me clap on your behalf. We got you. We got you. We got you. We got you, right? That used to be me. That was me. I've got $1 million ideas that I had years before I saw somebody else put it out. And this is no joke. And I'm like, you sat on that. You talked, and people have been like, you talked about that thing.
Mhm.
Because we're so critical of ourselves. So I think sometimes planning is a way for me to fool myself into saying I'm doing something, but there's no intention behind it. I'm just doing busy work. Where I think that intention comes into place is it helps give us a compass. It may not be, it's not the exact roadmap, but it's given me a compass and a guidance that says, okay, I need to head north. And I can figure these things out along the way. I don't have to have this rigid map. Like if you're over a certain age, MapQuest. We ain't have all these, we ain't have all, you had to know how to look at a map and read that map. And you was printing out your MapQuest instructions. Turn left here, you got it right. No. To me, the intention is giving me the freedom that says, you know what? I'm going west. You know what I mean? I'm going west. I don't have to have all of the answers right now, but I know that this is the end goal that I want to achieve. Then you let your planning come into place. Like Madjeen said, it's a and. I think we get so stuck into it has to be this or it has to be this, right? And Deborah Cooper Asbury said, so often our perfectionism, yes, perfectionism leads you to burnout and analysis paralysis.
Right.
I have a program that I'm working on right now. It's called One Little Win Away. which is specifically designed for those of us who are overthinkers, overplanners, overachievers, but we're not getting it done. We're getting in our heads and we're getting in our own way. And sometimes it's about stop thinking about perfection. Think about what's this next step, right? With my intention, I can stop trying to think about the world and stop looking at the top of the stairs. And maybe I just need to look at just this next step in front of me. And before you know it, you've got all these goals and all these things achieved because your intention said, I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to be rigid. So let me ask you, when you're going about setting your intentions, what kind of tools and things work for you guys? So, let's give people some tips on how they can navigate these transitions in their lives that they're trying to set intentions around.
Yes. So I think one thing, whether it's intentions, goals, your planning, the question of why, you need to know why you want to do it. So it resonates with you, and you can have several whys. And I encourage my clients, I'm like, they will give me a goal and they'll tell me what they want to do. And I'll ask them, why is this important to you? And I keep asking why, what else, and what else, because on any given day, something may not resonate. This one why may not resonate with you, but the other one will get you off the couch and get you moving and taking that action. So it has to be important to you. Again, tapping into what you want and why. But I do like the intentions, and I set goals as well. And I set goals. And one of the things that I do in my program is I want you to paint the big picture of what you want in detail, like what you want your life to be like. And then the things that don't fit in that picture, you need to start eliminating those or stop doing those. And then you need to bring in more of the things that do the experiences, the people, the education, the learning, the actions, the things that will make up that picture.
I think Dane Dash said, I'm doing it for my last name. My motivation to get out there and pound down San Antonio 5 feet, trying to look for a job because I had to bring some money home. And my young family was growing. They needed stuff. And I just, that indignation, that determination, because my job, my income took care of the household. His income takes care of the investments and properties, blah, 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 blah. So for me to be able to do my job, I'm not coming back until I got a doggone job. And then it was the, after getting off 10, 12-hour shifts, spending another 2.5 hours on USA Jobs trying to get back into the government and stuff like that. And I mean, hard charging, relentless. Remember when we were talking about how your body can be so doggone rude? Well, at one point I was doing my master's, I was working full time and taking care of my family and sitting, you have to do a lot of writing and reading and stuff. Well, I wouldn't go to bed till about 1 a.m. Dude, can I just tell you the amount of freaking fluid that gathered on my damn ankles that was sloshing around from all of the edema that happened because I'm sitting, writing all of these hours and stuff. So thank God it didn't last long, but goodness gracious. So your body is threatening to come apart if you don't get something off your damn plate. And I mean yesterday. Yeah, it's that listening to your body part and stuff. So if you have the motivation because you have people depending on you, I mean, even if you don't feel like it, you still do what you need to do without question because your family needs this and they're not going to be able to eat excuses.
Period.
So you just I go hard.
I would agree. I think when you have your why is like that battery pack in your back that's going to keep you going and keep you committed to that goal, to that intention, to that end point that you see. And I love what you said, Temetria, about write down that vision, because I'm a firm believer is you have to see it up here before you can see it here. If I don't see it here, I cannot bring it forth into this world. I cannot bring it forth into existence, right? And so having that written down, it's very easy to see where the fluff is, where you can trim the fat, if you will, because you've now been intentions about where you want to go. Like I said, you may not be a straight roadmap. You haven't put the things in place and the systems in place underneath it to support it yet. But you now at least know where you're headed.
Yes.
And you can start working on now, how do I get there?
Yes.
So let me ask you this, and anybody can answer. How do you stay aligned? And so I've got these intentions, but life is getting hectic. It is chaotic. It is stressful. How do I stay aligned with that intention so that I'm not 4 weeks in and I just gave up on everything?
I do an what do you call a vibrational check-in with myself. So I think one of the ways that intentions help you is when it grounds you to, am I meeting that vibration of what I had set for myself? Because we all are energy, right? And everything, people, things, energy. So we're taking in energy, we're putting out energy. And so what's the vibration around me? And so one of the things I think about, like, am I investing in myself? Am I investing in my time? Am I investing in my environment? And how I'm investing in my thoughts, right? Because a lot of the things that we want begins with our thoughts, right? And so if I'm always thinking negatively, then that's what's going to show up, because again, there's that vibration, that take in and take out. And so I do that check in with myself, because you're right, we live very busy lives, right? And so if I learned that my body keeps the score, like, if I've learned that, and I say, okay, I don't want to go back there anymore. How do I check in with myself? And that's how I go about doing it. So, and it doesn't have to be a big thing, right? What I try and a strategy that I bring for myself and the clients that I work with is micro mindfulness moments.
Ooh, ooh.
So you really
hold on.
No, right. Okay. Now explain, because look, we're gonna put that hashtag. Now,
Yes, ma'am. Please.
Mindful moments. That sounds like a podcast.
Oh, okay.
Or like a book or something, or something.
The way I think about it is sometimes we get so overwhelmed, right? With just, we're creating either intentions, either goals, they become this big mountains that we have to climb, right?
Yeah.
How do you break it down? We want to implement a lot of different healthy lifestyles, but then we see them as like this great big challenge. You want to introduce more mindfulness moments. It doesn't have to be an hour meditation. It doesn't have to be an hour of yoga. It doesn't have to be like you sitting down and doing 2 hours long of visioning. How do you bring in those micro mindfulness moments? What do they look like to you, where they're supportive of what you have going on, the busy life that you have, and not going against it and not causing more friction? So I actually had a client last night, we were talking about it, and he said he was going to start doing meditation. And I said, I usually recommend, if you haven't done it before, to start with just 5 minutes and not just meditating, just sit in silence. Just sit in silence, right? Because you then, when you close your eyes, you're like, okay, I got an hour to do this, right? Guess what starts to happen? You're thinking of all of the things, and then you're like criticizing yourself for thinking when you think you shouldn't be thinking and all these things. So just sit in silence for 5
You're doing
minutes.
too much. You overthinking it.
Right. Just put a timer on 5 minutes. It's over. All right. You did that. And then you slowly build on it so that it becomes something that feels doable. It's not this great big hill that you have to climb. So that's the micro mindfulness moments. Yeah.
Yes. And that aligns with, like I was saying, my One Little Win Away program. It is exactly that kind of thing, is that we have to stop looking at everything in the totality of it, because it's overwhelming. But that's how where most of us have been groomed to think. We think in grand, but you have to learn, how do I bring that down to an implementation level? One of the things I follow, I think that helps me a lot, that I really have to get back to, and this last year I really got off it, was the 12-week year. And if you've ever heard of the 12-week year, it is, most people plan their year. What they're saying is you plan essentially one quarter at a time. But you're taking that and you're not trying to build out the Sistine Chapel. You pick one, I'm picking one or maybe two goals that I want to work on. And every day I've mapped out, these are the little things that I want. Our brains are wired for little wins. We try to make all of these, I can't be happy, I can't celebrate until I've done this big thing. Our brains and our systems are wired for these little quick things, and they turn into these little small wins, quick wins, turn into these big wins, and it takes this snowball effect. But we have to take that first step and say, how do I break down this $1 billion vision I've got into $100 bite-sized chunk that I can actually move forward with? We've got Deborah said her jewelry brand helps people focus on those mindfulness moments. Yes. You don't look. First thing I learned when I started trying to meditate is your brain wants to think. That's what it's here to do. And don't beat yourself up, because first of all, you're not meditating in the first couple of times you're doing it. You're just starting to train your brain to, it's okay, quiet. We've got hundreds of thousands of thoughts, maybe millions of thoughts that can cross through our brain in a day. And it's not used to being, like you said, just sitting in silence. Just start there. Most people are so uncomfortable with silence.
Yes.
Yeah. So let me ask you guys this, okay? Where do you think self-compassion plays in kind of this process of being more intentional in our lives? And anybody can answer.
I think that is huge. That's one of the reasons resolutions don't work. You set that resolution, you fall off the wagon, so to speak, and you beat yourself up. And you have that self-talk, that negative self-talk. One of the things that I talk about is being your internal belief team. So your own best friend, your biggest cheerleader, and your faithful accountability partner. Be those three things for yourself and build that self-trust. I think be your internal belief team.
Okay, now tell me those people again.
You want to be your best friend, your own best friend. You want to be your biggest cheerleader, and you want to be your faithful accountability partner. Say the things to yourself that you would say to your best friend. Root for yourself like you would root for the Dallas Cowboys, no matter what they're doing in the season. And then be that accountability partner that's going to hold you accountable, but in a gentle, supportive way. Be all of those things for yourself.
I love that. And well, ladies, we have come to the end of the show. This hour has passed so quickly, as it always does. I feel like it always does when we're having some good conversations. So I want to give you guys the opportunity to have your final word, and then also let the people know how they can connect with you. So Madjeen, would you like to go?
Sure. So if you want to connect with me, follow me on Instagram at Transitions Well Done. I'm also on LinkedIn, Madjeen Lorthe. On Instagram, I have a lot of tools you can use for setting intentions or goal settings. I have affirmations you have access to. I have a journal. Journaling your way through transitions you can have access to. It will help you if you know you have a coming life event, a change coming up, that will help you think about the different phases of transition, the internal aspect of it all. And I also have a workbook for the 10 bold career limiting belief, or ways for you to step away from your limiting beliefs. So if you're thinking of a career change, right? If 2025 is the year that you finally step out and make that bold step towards your career, you can always reach out to me for a consultation, a free 30-minute consultation, or you can start with the workbook that's also available on my Instagram page. I look forward to connecting. Anyone who wants to reach out, I love to have virtual coffee chats, so please do so.
I ain't gonna say that I told you about not having it in front. Didn't I? I know I said that earlier.
I know you did.
Okay. It's okay. It's okay. We're gonna give you a pass this time. But y'all go and check out Madjeen and go and connect with her and talk with her. And that's what we're about here, is connecting our people together. So Temetria, do you have any final words, and let the people know what you got going on and how they can connect with you?
Yes, I've loved this so much. This just speaks to my soul, because I just want women to know that they can create the lives that they want. I have the planner, the Curate Your Life planner, that helps you do that. It is a quarterly journal. Like you said, I plan in quarters. So that is the one way to do it. This will walk you through setting that goal for the quarter, and then daily and weekly helping you do that. I also work one-on-one with people, with women mostly. I have worked with men, but with women mostly, to help them work through this process and to curate the life that they want. They can connect with me on Facebook, or they can find me on Instagram at Coach Temetria. And I too offer consultations. You can sign up for a one-on-one consultation to talk about your dream and how to make your dream come true, how to create that life, and how you can work with me.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for being here. Sharonda, do you have any final words you want to share with the people?
I do. With tasks that people are having trouble starting, think about it like this. How do you eat an elephant? One spoonful at a time. Just start. Don't wrap your brain around the thing. It is way more simpler than you think. Give yourself grace and start eating one bite at a time.
Yes. And I want you, as we close out, I want you guys to remember, this new year is a blank canvas for you, and you get to be the artist of your life. So I want you to paint a picture of joy, of growth, and definitely of intention, because you have the power. You have everything within you to create the life that you desire, the life you deserve, and the life that you love. And remember, every small step you take is helping you bring that intention, that end goal, that feeling, how you want to show up in the world, is helping you get that victory. So like Sharonda said, give yourself grace, be patient with yourself, and trust the process, because it works. Mm-hmm. And as always, remember to wake up happy, sis. We'll see y'all later. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Wake Up Happy Sis Show. Join us live every Monday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern for more joy, healing, and sisterhood. Until next time, keep thriving unapologetically, sis.